Hey guys, it's Mel from IntimacyTV, where we're all about real education, and raw conversation. Something that seems to be quite rare out there these days, so we're noticing. I've had so many conversations the last few days where the word inauthenticity keeps coming up, and dating, there seems to be plenty of it. So today I wanted to talk to you about my experience with WeClick. And it's WeClick speed dating, and I was invited to go along I think it was Thursday night, and it was my very first speed dating. Can you believe it? So it was my very first time going to an event like that, and it is something that I do suggest a lot of people go and try out. And it's not always what you think it's going to be like. So the very first question I know I'm going to be asked was, did I enjoy it? I'm going to sit there right now and I'm going to say, yes, I had an absolutely fabulous time. So you're wondering, what is speed dating? How does it work? So I want to sit there and sort of cover it, because I think we've got a lot of false ideas of what's out there. Now, there are many companies that are out there, and WeClick invited me to come along and see how they do it, and they do it down one of the laneways in the city, and it was at a really great venue, and it was set up really well. Now, the company WeClick, I'll quickly tell you a little bit about them. So they've been around for about 2 years, and the reason why they decided to come up with their speed dating events was it was two singles that were about 30-something years of age, and, the dating out there, the dating scene sucked, and they wanted to go to an environment where they didn't feel uncomfortable and create a community spirit. And that's what I noticed with some of the people that were there that night. All the hosts that are there are former guests, so they have been on both sides, and I think that's what makes a difference, because a lot of us think we know what it's like to date. Well, how can you unless you're out there dating? So it's like a lot of coaches out there. There are so many out there that are coaching because they've read a lot of books and done a lot of courses, but the reality is these people don't have a lot of experience with dating. They've never had extremely long-term relationships, have never been married, never been divorced, yet they're out there and they're giving advice about dating when, quite frankly, they don't know what the hell they're talking about. So that's what I love about this particular event. All the hosts are previous guests, so they've tried both sides here. They do 6 events a month. They do every single Thursday night and the occasional Friday. They do some theme ones, and the one that I went to, so they do the sporty and the Asian, and they do the cougars, and I was like, fellas, I'm not a cougar, I'm a whip. So, a lot of people don't know what the whip is, but it's women who are highly intelligent, quite powerful little beings. So I don't hunt for my meat, so I'm not too sure about the word cougar. But the thing is that they do different events for different age groups. So the one that I was invited to go to, just so you know, this particular company, they sell out every single event 2 weeks before it actually happens. So they're doing really well. So when I rocked up to the event, there were 12 women and 12 men. The event that I was invited to was for 36-plus-year-old women, 38-plus-year-old women and 36 and under-year-old men, which suited me perfectly fine. When I rocked up, I was given a name badge and I had a number on it. My number was number 3. So I went to the table that had the number 3, and the other male that started with the number 3, that's where we started, and we sat there and we had a chat. So you have 12 dates in one night. You get 6 minutes each for each date, and it is perfect to learn the art of communication. So that's what I've always said about speed dating. If you're a little bit awkward and you're not too sure how to communicate, speed dating is the way to do it, because you only got 6 minutes. Now, granted, if you've got someone that you're sitting in front of you and you click, of course that 6 minutes is going to fly. If you're with somebody in front of you that you're not really clicking with, the 6 minutes might feel a little bit longer. However, after 6 minutes, they're gone, and it's that simple. So you get a card, and it's actually got 2 sides to the card, and you would write down the name of the person next to the number that they've got on the tag, and on the left hand side you've got your name and your number, and you would tick later on yes or no. Now, unless you've both said yes, whatever form that you've decided that you wish to allow them to contact you on, which could be anything from Facebook, emails, Instagram, phone number, whatever it is that you're comfortable with, they will connect you up. But both parties must say yes. Now, on the other side, which is a side that you get to keep, you can write notes about the person, because, you know, you're meeting 12 people very quickly. So, you know, I put, you know, little notes next to the name so I can remember who's who in the zoo. You know, so some of the notes that I wrote was, you know, person number one was a poker player. He was very confident. The second person was German. He was a little bit more shy. I had another guy. He had a really lovely face. So I wrote lovely face. I wrote the sun god, you know, the Turkish salsa dancer. You know, I wrote, oh yeah, the host. I've got one where I wrote below the belt conversation. So that conversation very quickly went below the belt with the most unlikely person in the room. You know, sometimes I would write, you know, where they were from or if they were really nervous. So I could remember who was who. Now, what did I think of it? Well, actually, on the back, I've got all these other notes, and these were part of my conversations that I had with people where I got information like, you know, really, really good Sri Lankan cuisine restaurant in St Kilda. What's the name, you know? And I literally, you know, sat there and had completely different conversations. So here's the thing. One, speed dating is fabulous if you're not good at the art of communication. And the reality is today with technology, we're really good at this and we really suck at this. And when I say suck at this, okay, the reason why I'm saying that is because I've had enough experience to know. I've been out on some dates with guys this way. Awesome. Like, oh my God, I can't wait. We're clicking, everything's good. And then we get like this. I'm like, what the beep? You know, and they really do not know how to communicate. And unfortunately, I'm going to say, you know, it's a large percentage of people don't know how to do it old school. So this is going back to old school, but old school in a community environment. And that's what I loved about this particular event. So I literally was put into an area where everybody was quite relaxed. I did have a girlfriend that I dragged along to the event. And funnily enough, it was somebody that I thought, you know, by the end of it, like, get me out of here. But she had such an amazing time, and there was lots of smiles coming from her. And, you know, she tends to like older men, and he was like, yeah, but I'm not going to be interested in anyone. However, she connected with people. So when you go to speed dating, it doesn't mean that this is someone that you're going to want to shag necessarily. It can be somebody that you click with and you want to continue a conversation, and it's about meeting new people. So what I found at my particular event was there are a lot of people that had come here from different countries, and this was a great way for them to meet other people and meeting someone of not just of the opposite sex, but they're around, you know, other men and other women, so they can meet other people there because you're all got something in common. So I found there was a couple of people there that 100%, you know, I was like, oh my God, we clicked. I'd love to catch up again. Now, as I said, unless you both said yes, so it's sort of like a Tinder thing, unless you both swipe right, you can't actually have any information exchange unless you, of course, go up to somebody and you just give them your number. Anyway, what were the conversations like? Well, for me, random. I will say that I was able, because I had a girl from there, I was able to do a little bit of reconnaissance, and sort of we were able to determine straight away, purely by what our conversations were, who we spoke to. So with some of them, they use exactly the same technique with every single woman that sat there. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm from IntimacyTV. I basically specialise in the dating and the sex part, and Jane, my colleague, does the love and the relationships. So I've written a book called Win the Dating Game, okay? And pretty much this was written for women, and this particular book was written for women to identify the 10 different kinds of guys that we date and, you know, what they're like. So here's the reality. These are the common mistakes that people make. when I'm on an app like Tinder or Bumble or whatever, I can hold 25 different conversations, and it is an art and it is a skill. So for starters, for those of you that are going out to the WeClick world, what I want you to understand is that dating is a skill. Now, why do I say this? With your career, and I want you to think about this, or with a sport that you do, to be really good at what you do, how many hours do you put into learning how to do that? So whether that's playing hockey or soccer or football, do you just like kick the ball and you know exactly what you're doing? Of course not. If you're doing your job, and let's just say you're in IT or data analysis or sales, do you literally just walk in and you're getting all the sales like boom, 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 and you just know and you're in the flow and you know everything about the products in there, do you know how to write code straight away? Of course not. So, to do anything in life it's a skill, and it's a skill that needs to be learned. Okay, so dating is a skill. So for starters, for all of you doing this, I want you to understand the benefits of going into, especially a forum like this, and getting offline and going literally face to face. It's about going there to increase your skill in the art of communication and the art of dating. And let me tell you, some of you need some help, and that's what we're here for. So at this particular event, I mean, seriously, there were some people that were really, really nervous. There were others that just did the same conversation, and others that did the same compliment. So for me, if somebody came up to me and they started their conversation, and they decided to compliment me on, like, oh, you look amazing, it'd be like, yep, done, right? Now, granted, you need to understand, I've gone in there with a lot of training in what I do, so I can morph into anybody that I need to in front of that person. So my role that night, I didn't tell anybody what I do for a job. I made sure that, and I'm single, so I made sure that I'm going in there with an open mind, and I made sure that with each individual that sat in front of me, I made them feel as comfortable as possible. And I got the art, because I've got the art of communication and the skill to be able to sit there and get that person to open up. And that is a skill that you need to learn. So to do that, you need to sit in front of strangers and you need to start talking and ask about them. And don't ask the same question in front of each individual. Every single conversation that I did was completely different. Okay, with every single individual that sat next to me. Now, the funny thing is, the way it works is that you've got, on the speed dating, you've got 12 dates in total. We do 6 dates, 6 minutes each, and then we have a 20-minute break where you can all mingle, get a drink, they provide you food, and then you would do your last 6 dates, okay? And then at the end of the night, you hand in your cards, and then they will contact you for the people that have said, yes, I'd like to meet that person, and you both said yes, okay? So there was a lady that was sitting at the next table to me, and she was number 4 and I was number 3, and she literally turned around towards the end of the first section. She said, hey, I want to date you in the break. And I'm like, why? She goes, because all I hear coming from over there is laughter, and all the men are taking way too long to go from you to me because they kept having to be tapped on the shoulder to move along. So if you really want to learn the art of communication, the only way to do it is to get out there and keep stumbling along and trying new things. So online, you can definitely try. I learnt the art of sexting going on to something like Tinder. So I would go on there and I try something, I call it like the crash and burn. It's like, poof, okay, that method didn't work. Let's try someone else. And the crash and burn is, we're done, all right? So on there, I learned the art of doing something like sexting. However, when you're doing face-to-face, it is completely different, okay? And most of you, I love you all, but you suck at it, okay? This is something you're really bad at. So the reality is that, and it's funny because the host messaged me going, your phone must be on fire. And I'm like, why? He goes, because you were, well, I don't know how he worded it. He basically said, you're the most dynamic person that was there that night. And that is because I've learnt the art of communication. So no matter who they put in front of me, whether they were sweating and they were awkward, or whether they were comfortable and relaxed, whether they were cocky or confident, whether it was their first time or their 50th time, I was able to make sure that I made them feel really comfortable to the point where we were pissing ourselves laughing. That's what it's all about. Now, not once did I ask anybody, what do you do for a job? I'm not interested. So that's a tip for you in regards to going out there and doing something like this. I don't give a shit what kind of car you drive. I don't give a shit what job you have. I want to get to know in 6 minutes you. So when you're going to a speed dating event, make sure that that's something that you're not asking that question. So you could even go in there and make sure that you could do a deal breaker question, or you could, you want to ask a different question to each person to get to know them. Like, what do you like to do? Like, what's your favorite sport? What do you do on the weekends? What kind of movies do you like? Could be freaking anything. And, with this particular night, there was so many nationalities there. I talked about food a lot, and trust me, I don't like cooking, but I was offered to be made dinner quite a few times. However, saying something to someone within minutes of, meeting them, I can cook you dinner. You can come around, or I can cook at your house. I'd probably stay away from that, because yet again, it was like, I really love, that nationality food. However, that just comes across a little bit creepy. So there is an art to that. If any of you have any questions on what, whether you think speed dating is right for you, make sure that you pop some notes down. I'm happy to answer anything. I did meet 2 lovely men there. In fact, a group of us went out afterwards and we went and had dinner, and it turned out that out of the 3 guys that were there, 2 of them I ticked yes to, one my friend I ticked yes to, and we all actually got matched up, and we've been chatting ever since. So it was really amazing. Go in there with an open mind. You never know who you're actually going to meet. You never know what's going to come out of it. It's just one of those things. I don't believe that when you go out there and you put yourself out there for dating, that you should be sitting there and you should be going, I'm looking for the one. Okay? That is a sure way to screw it up. It's not about that, guys. It's about going out there and going with the flow. So common question that people will ask you, whether you're online or face-to-face, is, what are you looking for? And the reality is, you shouldn't really be looking for anything specific. If you've got a shopping list, you need to burn that fucker. Burn it. Because your shopping list, here's the reality. If you've got a shopping list, if you get 70% of that list, you are doing like magnificently. Okay? So the reality is, get rid of your shopping list and do your non-negotiables. Only care about your non-negotiables. So for me, my non-negotiables would be in that room would have come down to age, because they were 36 and under, but it didn't say how young. So it was like, for me, I'm happy to date someone up to a certain age, and then underneath that, my personal thing is I really don't want to date someone that can call me mama. And that's a reality. So that would be my non-negotiable. And you can generally work out whether, that's the case or not. So, it was a shitload of fun. Ask questions. So when you come home, you're not just got the list of, so you can remember who they are, that you've got, all of these notes on the back of things where you've opened up a conversation. It's like, oh, you got a recommendation? Oh, I've never heard of that. Oh, tell me more about it. Oh, write this down for me. That is what dating is all about. Would I recommend going, or would I go back to a WeClick event again? Hells yeah. It was so much fun. The host made you feel welcome. The people there made you feel welcome. I say that there are 3 things that will assist you guys in making sure that you, how do I say this politely? have a better chance of eventually one day getting into a pants, okay? So the 3 things for that is make sure that you give a shit about grooming, okay? And what was lovely that night was all of the men came and they were really dressed nicely. They weren't over the top, you know, they were neat, casual, and I think that's the way to go. Number 2 is hygiene. Make sure you smell good, fellas. It's very, very important, and this is both women and men. You know, make sure that you're dressed appropriately for your body and make sure that you actually smell nice, because, you know, the sense of smell is very strong, and especially with women, you know, we love sniffing shit. Why do you think there's so many perfumes out there? So if a guy smells good, you know, it will actually make the chemicals in her brain go a bit funny, and more than likely, she might want to hump you on the spot. I've done that. If someone's groomed well and they smell good, yeah, I may not make it past about 1 metre of my front door of the house. So those 2 things are very important. The 3rd thing is, you know, the 2-minute rule versus the 20-minute rule. You know, men, you know, you might spark up a little bit faster than us women, so you need to make sure that you warm us up nicely. And it's not about showering us with a shitload of compliments, because it's actually quite shallow. We're not interested in that. It's about making sure that you sound like that you're interested in who we are and what we like, instead of just having a mission on hand. So remove the mission. So 100% would recommend speed dating to anyone that hasn't tried it. It was so much fun. In fact, it was so much fun that I've been talking to Jane, my business partner, and we're going to be talking to these guys from WeClick, because damn, we've got some great ideas of different theme nights that we can actually come up with. So if you guys are interested in coming to a speed dating night, you know, definitely, you know, flick us a message, whether it's on here. You know, if you'd be interested in doing a speed dating night where Jane and I would be the host from IntimacyTV, definitely put a 1 below, and we will look at what we can do, because we've got some stellar ideas that we can come up with for a themed night. You know, it's definitely something that I highly suggest. Thank you to the guys, for the host and the company WeClick, for inviting me to come along to the event. If it was shit, I would say shit, but it wasn't. It was absolutely fabulous. You know, the person that's literally on now, damn it, girl, you should have come. So you're going to have to come and do it next time. And to the other one that's on and actually came with me, thank you for coming, because it was an absolutely fabulous night. If you've got any of your friends that you've noticed definitely always seem to stay single and they're not really good with the whole dating thing, I highly suggest that they have a look at going to these events. They do different ones, different age brackets. So this one was, you know, the cougar night. So it was the older women with the younger men. They also will do things like the older men. They'll do Asians, which I think is very handy. You also have, you know, different theme nights and stuff like that. So these guys are always coming up with different age groups and different themes to make sure that they're catering for everyone, and it's definitely a community spirit. So if you've got any questions about speed dating, make sure you flick us a message. For those of you from WeClick that are watching and you want some more information, make sure that you pop onto IntimacyTV's Facebook page and you can message us from there, or go on to IntimacyTV's website, where we do have a lot of online courses, and we do have a men's one and a female one that is specifically for dating, and it will help you to get ready to go out in the dating back out in the dating again. As I said, I'm the author of Win the Dating Game. Make sure that you get in contact with us. Any questions you've got, flick us a message. Until our next episode, bye from me.